I think the biggest piece of advice that I will take away from this panel has to be that all feedback is valuable, even if just for the sake of dismissing it. So being able to go through the thought process of, wow, someone said this thing to me. It felt terrible. I'm going to survey everyone in my life and figure out whether or not they're actually right. And if they're wrong, I get to, at the end of the day, take great joy in knowing that and walk away that much more secure and confident.
So I think the biggest takeaway from this panel, because there's so many different women who are up there, we all have different styles and different things, is to know yourself and to figure out kind of what you want to do because you are the architect of your career.
My biggest takeaway from this session was just that everybody, especially women, should really focus on figuring out what their strengths are and how they can bring their best self to the table. That means creating a great network, asking your network for advice, thinking through where to go to get help and advice and how to move forward in your career, figuring out your sponsors, figuring out your mentors, and all of those great ideas came up, and I think we really dug into some of them.
I think it's transparency of pay could be one of the biggest obstacles. I think it's confidence, and I think pay and confidence are pretty intertwined. So pay is a place where you can put a lot of the anxiety about confidence, but at the end of the day, it's not the last thing to worry about.
I think the tension for me is always between like fitting in and standing out. There's a certain level of conformity that you have to do in order to really make it in an organization, particularly being a freelancer by trade, stuff like that. I'm used to kind of being able to be myself and not worrying about it. So figuring out how you reconcile those two parts of yourself, right? There's definitely a part that you have to stay true to yourself, and there's a part where you have to be strategic about where you're trying to go. And so figuring out for you, again, goes back to you being the architect of your career, figuring out what it is that you need and what you're trying to get to, and then what's the most efficient way to it. Maybe you do have to modify your behavior. Maybe you do have to change the way you dress. Maybe you do have to think about the way you position yourself. Maybe you need to go back to school. Maybe you need to get another certification. Maybe you need to get more experience. But whatever it is, being really honest with yourself at every part of the process. It's always served me really well. It's shown me when things don't fit. It's shown me when I've outgrown things and I'm ready to move on. So really just trying to focus in and figure out, okay, what do I want out of my career?